I'm Brian Shelton, and you're listening to Harper Talks, a co-production of Harper College Alumni Relations and Harper Radio. Today on Harper Talks, I'm excited to speak with Dr. Joseph Sagerer, a 2024 Distinguished Alumni. He's a 1997 graduate of Harper College with a bachelor's in mathematics and physics from Eastern Illinois University and a doctorate in physics from the University of Illinois, Chicago. Dr. Sagerer joined me here in the WHCM studio in Building A. Thanks for being here. How are you?
Excellent, Brian. Thank you, and thank you to Shannon for helping put this all together.
Yeah. Shannon does a great job, doesn't she?
Yes, especially with the busy schedule here with two universities, my university and Harper, trying to match schedules. It's been great.
Trying to match things up. Yeah, it's a lot. Oh, speaking of universities, could you have picked an easier degree, or were you looking for something challenging?
Right. So physics is one of those things that you fall in love with or you don't, sort of. So when I started out of high school and I was at Harper, I sort of thought maybe engineering, chemistry, one of the sciences, maybe mathematics, maybe creative writing. I didn't really know, and that's part of exploring. And it turns out that I really liked physics, which is why I was thinking about engineering. And then as I took more physics classes, I just realized that's where my passion was. And when I got into the lab and saw the connection between the ideas that we were covering and actual things happening, that really set me on the path that I've taken since then.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's go backwards a little bit. How did you come to Harper? What made the decision to come here?
The decision was very easy. I don't really mention it to my children, but I wasn't the best student back in high school. I was, I enjoyed the higher level classes, but I maybe didn't apply myself as well as I should have. And when it came time to move to the next level, I definitely wanted to go into the sciences or something like that, but I didn't know the path to take. I thought jumping into a 4-year school right out of high school didn't make sense for me just because I wasn't prepared.
Well, that's interesting.
And so when it came time to do that, I saw Harper as an opportunity to say, okay, here's a step up onto the next level. I can sort out what I want to do before I commit to doing it. And money's always an issue. And being able to work part-time while I came to Harper, I live relatively nearby, I commuted from my parents' house. It gave me that opportunity to explore what I wanted to do.
Yeah. It's very interesting that at high school age you had the mental wherewithal to say this is probably not a good idea.
Yes, I there were moments where I acknowledged that I may have been mature in my outlook, but not in my education
not in your
applications. There was a moment when I told my advisor, the talented and development advisor at my high school, said, we're going to recommend you take this math class because you're not doing well in your current math class. And I said, well, I'm not really going to do well in either because I'm not going to do the homework. Can I take the higher level one just so I can see what it is? And that argument was convincing, apparently.
So you weren't being challenged enough? You didn't feel challenged?
I just felt like at that time when I was younger that what I was doing wasn't meaningful and to some degree. And when I got to Harper, then you step up on the big stage and you see, okay, now I see all the connections, I see all the ways. And high schools have definitely improved in the last 30 years at giving students those opportunities to see career connections and big ideas connecting into the real world.
But at the time, you just didn't see where it
was applicable. And it's a maturity thing, right?
Sure.
High school age students, college age students don't necessarily have the best outlook on how the world works.
Yeah. So what was your time at Harper like? How was it when you got here? What was the best part?
The best part was it was a reset for me.
Yeah.
Right? It was an opportunity to say, okay, all the grades that I had in high school, all the challenges I had, that's done. Now's the time to start over from zero and work your way up from there. And so I took the opportunity. I got my associates in arts and associates in science because I knew I wanted to do science, but I also wanted to try everything else. And it was a great opportunity to really push the boundaries of what I had looked at previously.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. You went all the way through 2 associate's degrees, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and then a doctorate in physics.
Yeah.
That is a long educational journey.
It is a very long educational journey, yes.
Takes a while to do that. I'm curious, for those who maybe have no clue, what does one do with a doctorate in physics?
what one does with a doctorate in physics is there are opportunities for research. Mm-hmm. There's opportunities to work at companies and do engineering-like things, but a physicist is more of a jack of all trades. Mm-hmm. We can kind of put ourselves into any problem and do problem-solving skills. A lot of physics is learning very basic ideas and then expanding those ideas to difficult problems. Mm-hmm. Very similar to engineering. Engineering is a little bit more balanced on like cost and that sort of thing. But anything that involves research, teaching is always an option. Research and cutting edge stuff. You can also do financial work mm-hmm. because they value the skills of being able to analyze large amounts of data.
Yeah. So you were doing both education and research with some practical application. So
yes.
Tell us about your work as a professor.
So I teach at a local university. I don't know if I...
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Dominican University in River Forest. Mm-hmm. I teach introductory physics classes there. I teach students who are going to be chemists, engineers, biologists, biochemists, pre-med folks. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is introductory classes, but that's important stuff. It's the physics that I love just at the introductory level, and getting students excited about physics is sometimes challenging, but bringing my passion to it. One of the comments I get from my students is, oh, you're always so happy about teaching physics and you're always so passionate about the subject. And yeah, that's what I am. And then I always wanted to find this balance between that teaching side of my life and doing research, mm-hmm. because research is exciting to me. It's that, as I said, getting that experience where you connect out into the real world and being able to do things that nobody's possibly done before.
Right.
And I found at Dominican, I was able to develop this research project with a colleague at Chicago State University, where what we're going to do is use cosmic rays. So there are cosmic rays, particles that hit the top of the atmosphere, mm-hmm. and then when they do so, they create these particle showers, high energy particles. The ones we're most interested in are muons because mm-hmm. they survive to the ground. And they're moving at such high energy that they'll travel through large amounts of matter. So they'll travel through big chunks of rock, hundreds of meters possibly. Mm-hmm. And what you can do with that is effectively build a detector to use those as almost like an X-ray machine for large structures. And the project we've developed is to go to the Temple de Kukulcan, the El Castillo pyramid at Chichen Itza, and we're putting a detector underneath the pyramid because we can then scan the structure. And it's a real unique experience because we go down to Mexico, we build this fancy detector, put it in a tunnel that archaeologists dug 100 years ago, and look up through the pyramid and see, are there empty spaces inside the pyramid? We can do non-invasive archaeometry. And so archaeometry is the study of archaeology mm-hmm. using scientific techniques.
So you're sort of creating a three-dimensional map of the pyramid showing spaces that we can't see with our own eyes using the muon detector?
Yes. So as the muons travel through rock, a certain amount of them make it through 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, and you lose a little bit each distance they travel.
Right.
By looking at how many you see when you're outside the pyramid, looking up at the sky, you get a baseline. And then when you go inside the pyramid, when you look up, you can say, oh, well, I see 90% of what I saw outside, or I saw 80%. And from that, we can say, okay, that means there's 50 meters of rock here.
Right.
And then you measure the outside of the pyramid, and you say, wait, there's 60 meters between my detector and the outside. That means there's 10 meters of rock missing. That implies there's an empty void inside the material.
And then you'll be able to map that.
Yeah, and you can do it. You do this at multiple angles, and then you can move the detector around and look at it from different directions and map out the positions.
Has this been done before, or is this
This is a technique that's been used, not using our type of detector, but it's a technique that's been used at the Great Pyramid at Giza, and it has discovered chambers there.
That's
using
so cool.
a different group has done that, and it's used for example, you can image the magma chamber inside a volcano because the hot rock is a different density than the cool outside of the mountain, and you can see where the magma is. That's been done, again, by other groups. And then there are national security applications as well, because you can put a container truck inside of one of these detectors and look to see, is there material that's blocking muons that shouldn't be there.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, so it's taking physics where the physics isn't like cutting edge. We understand muons very well. We understand the cosmic rays very well. It's an application.
Yeah, the application you're using for them is fascinating.
Which is perfect for, I have undergraduate students that are working with me and getting them the opportunity to do things like this where...
That's pretty unusual, isn't it?
Yeah,
for undergraduate students to work on a project this big?
Well, that was always our goal when we designed the project. The project was always the goal of this is something we want undergraduate students to have hands-on experience in. We want them to be an important part of the project. Because when I was a graduate student, I worked on a relatively small particle detector. And if you know about Fermilab or like CERN, the collaborations there are thousands of scientists.
Right.
And the project I worked on was 80 of us, including the graduate students. So you had to do things. There was no sitting back and saying, well, my part's done, somebody else's problem. It was all hands on deck whenever there was something to do. Yeah. And this small project is the same ideas. You know, it's mentally challenging, it's physically challenging, it's emotionally challenging because you have to do the design process and go through all the analysis of the data, but we're also the ones who are moving the panels around and assembling the detector and going underneath the pyramid and working in, 100% humidity and 95-degree days. And it's all challenging, but it gives those students an opportunity to say, wow, I'm working on a big project like this. It gives them that outlook.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
How long will you be down there? How long is this going to...
So we are scheduled to be there for 1 year. So the detector panels are assembled, they are tested, and they fly on Monday to Mexico.
Wow.
Our colleagues at the University of Mexico, Mexico City, will then assemble them into a frame. We'll do some further testing, and then within a few months, they'll be placed at the pyramid.
And how much time will you spend there?
Off and on this year, several weeks. The hope is we've tried to design everything so it's remotely controlled, so we can control it from Chicago. The challenge is that never 100% works, right? So there's always the issue of
somebody has to push a button.
We tried to design it so if the power goes out and the power comes back, it kind of resets itself on its own. But there's always that moment of, oh, geez, we forgot there's a switch on this box that somebody needs to go
even
push.
Right here at this radio station, every once in a while, somebody has to push a button, and it's usually me. So I hear it.
You get that call, and when you're called in, I assume it's not 1,000 miles and an airplane trip and then a car trip.
It's still not convenient, but no, it's not. Yeah. But you're like a regular Indiana Jones here. This is a really fascinating thing.
It's amazing. It's one of those things where when you start off, and again, the reason I love research is you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
I never anticipated that I would be working on this sort of project. And you really get a sense of history when you're there and like you're allowed to go past the ropes and go inside the pyramid, which tourists aren't allowed to do anymore. They used to be able to when there weren't any rules. But being able to go inside and work there, you just get this sense of awe and just this moment of, what am I doing? This is not something that anyone does. Like I was telling you, I've been in the pyramid under this, more than 1,000-year-old pyramid, trying to get a Wi-Fi signal on my phone so I could update the software on a computer, right? And for the record, we've added Wi-Fi to the pyramid now, so there is Wi-Fi under there.
Nice.
Yes, so we are in better shape than we were, but originally it was like that, and it's just awe-inspiring that we get to do this and work on this interesting location and bring students with us, and the students get the ability to tell this story. Hey, I went and did this, and it's
great things for their future careers too. I mean,
it's one of those things you put it on your resume, and future employers or future graduate programs are like, can you tell me a little bit about this? And you have that ready to go story of, we went to Mexico, we did this. It's a great experience.
That's pretty awesome. What a great opportunity. It's so great when other professors do that, because I imagine that you were, as you were saying, you were given some opportunities to work on some projects while you were in school. And I think that's very, very important, and as a professor, I try to bring that to my students as well, because I know that them working on practical application of their work and getting them out there so they have something on that resume and they can go to someone and say, look, I did this already. I know how to do that.
It's what we call a high impact practice, right? It's that job experience, that research experience, that getting into the lab and doing something outside the classroom. I really value it for my students because oftentimes it's that first moment where we're doing physics, but we're not doing a lab experiment that's been run 100 times and we know it's going to work. I often don't know that things are going to work because it's research. I'm like, I think we're going to try this. We're going to see if it works. If it doesn't work, we'll adapt. And for students, there's that moment of, wait a minute, you're not sure this will work?
Right.
And it's a mind shift from, I just have to check these boxes to, okay, now I have to think through the problems.
Now, I know that in the end, your research on this project will be published in some journals and things like that, as all academic stuff is. But will it be anywhere where it's more accessible to people who are just interested in the pyramid and that sort of thing? Is that
yes?
Okay.
We will be putting things on a website, and as the detector is running, we hope to have available a method for you to see what's going on, right? Cool. I think that's probably the best way.
Okay.
I'm hoping to build a display that we could make public facing. So we'll have the research side where the scientists can kind of see what's going on, but then the public side seeing, the detector is live. Here's what it's seeing at the moment.
That's cool. Awesome. You mentioned Fermilab earlier. I've worked with a few people out there, and you have a project there called Vamos Fermilab. Tell me about that.
Vamos Fermilab was a project that Fermilab scientists recognized that if you look at the national lab statistics, there are scientists that are of Hispanic descent. There's just fewer of them than the general population. And the majority of them that are there are from outside the United States. So they're from countries outside the United States. And the idea is we want to build that pipeline in the United States. We want to get our students to go there. And the Dominican University, where I teach, is a Hispanic serving institution. We have a very large Hispanic population of students, and their goal was to just get students to apply for summer internships. It's a small step. If for most students, you want to junior or senior year get those outside experiences, and it was just it wasn't that it wasn't available. It wasn't advertised, or students didn't feel ready for it. And what we did there was they brought together a group of students from a bunch of different universities in the area to Fermilab, and they had them shadow a researcher for 3 days and have lunch together, that sort of thing, meet together, and said, hey, okay, now you've got something on your resume. You've done this program. You've shadowed these folks. Now write an application to come and work with these folks for the summer. And one of my students actually had a successful completion of that program. Nice. Where they did the program for one summer. The next that winter, they applied to do a summer internship, and they spent 6 weeks. You're paid very well in a national lab for an undergraduate student, and they got to do a bunch of research, and it's just getting your foot in the door and getting those opportunities to step into the research world.
What an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that for students. That's awesome. That's amazing. It's good stuff. No, you're being shy about it.
No, I am uncomfortable because that's what I expect an instructor should do, right? Because getting opportunities for students is critical. Before I had my research project, I made connections, other folks at Fermilab, some of the chemists there. I'm not a chemist, I'm a physicist, but they were doing ongoing research problems, and I got some of my students into a chemistry lab because I have chemistry students as well. And it just getting those opportunities to be in a place that's doing research, and the research community is broader than what you're working on. It is all of these different projects. The national labs are amazing because when you're there, you get exposure to all sorts of different fields, all working at the highest level, pushing to do their best. And you get real excited about research. You get those moments of, wow, I couldn't do what you're doing because I took a different path, but I'm so happy you're doing that. And now I'm inspired to go and redouble my efforts on what I'm working on, right?
That's really cool. That's great. So when you are not teaching, doing research, finding holes in pyramids, and providing students opportunities, you've been on a couple of school boards, and you're on a school board right now. Tell me about that.
I am currently on the District 59 Board of Education for another 2 weeks.
Another 2 weeks?
Yeah, so this is the end of my first term for 4 years. I've served there. It's the school district where my kids all went, and I took the opportunity to apply some of my passion for education, some of this feeling of, I received this great education. I really want to pay that forward to future generations and make sure that my kids and all the other kids in the area get that opportunity and really push education forward. I've done that for 4 years, including a year serving as board president. I'm currently board vice president. And in 2 weeks, I will be switching. I've been elected to the District 214 Board of Education with the local high school districts.
Okay.
Because, again, 2 of my kids are now in the high school. And I again, feel this connection of I do so much work with my undergraduate students at the college level and university level. I really want to make sure that students are prepared for whatever challenges go forward. Yeah. And again, with my experiences, maybe not having been a student who applied themselves very well, I really think that there's a lot of students out there that we can reach who are just need that little nudge and push forward.
I don't want to put you too on the spot here, but what do you maybe see as the strengths and weaknesses of our local schools? I mean, my daughter goes to school in this area as well, so I'm just kind of curious. What do you think are some of the strengths that we have, and where could we improve, you think?
So the strengths are that the districts in the area are very well respected. They put in a lot of effort into ensuring that our teachers are high quality, our teachers and staff, all the staff and the administrators all work for the students. And for the high schools, again, 30 years ago, they didn't have these opportunities that the students have nowadays with access to programs that give you more career advancement.
Right.
214's done an amazing job of pushing students to, hey, consider what the future looks like. And again, you don't have to make a decision now, but you should start thinking about things now.
Right. And maybe take some classes related to something you're thinking about.
Right. And getting them opportunities to take college level classes or to get into the trades and work in the auto shop and think about, is this a path I can see myself doing? And maybe if not this, maybe something related to it. So I think they do an amazing job on that. Where the challenge has been is our local area has a lot of elementary school districts and 2 really big high school districts, and getting sort of a vertical integration of every elementary district when their students get to 8th grade and are ready to matriculate into the high schools, do they have these skills?
Right.
And it's something that I know 214 has started working on. I know there's efforts at 211, which is where we're sitting right now, to make sure that those sender districts, the districts that go up into the high schools, are getting the students where we expect them to be. And it's been challenging because a lot of what's happened over the past 30 years, again, is a change in the student populations. There's a lot more low-income students than there were in the past. And the schools have had to adapt, and they've been adapting, but maybe
not
not
quick
as,
enough.
not maybe not. I don't. There's also a certain pace you can maintain, right, without burning out all the teachers and having other issues pop up. So they're working on that adaptation over time.
Yeah, it's really hard, to be at the high school level, and if you didn't get it when you were at the elementary and middle school level, when you get to high school, it makes it a lot harder to move that along.
And
right?
it's a lot harder at the university level as well, right? And I don't have the opportunity to, with my students at the university level, you don't have that moment of, well, I can sit down and work with you on the algebra you need to do physics. I need to say, well, you have to go and remediate your algebra before you can do the physics. Right. I'm not as tied into all the different subjects for that individual student.
Right.
And that's the biggest challenge of being an undergraduate educator is oftentimes you really want to do a lot more for the students.
But you can't always.
You can't do that in every single subject, though.
Yeah, I have that problem. As students come and it's like, well, no, you should be able to write when you get here. You should be able to do that. And I'm happy to, push you along the right direction and give you the right resources and stuff. And then what we find, in the last 2 years now, everyone's, why should I write when I can just use AI? And it's like, well, no, I need you to think because thinking is writing.
is the act of thinking
That's right.
your thoughts onto paper.
That's right.
And organizing your thoughts. So the AI issue is challenging because it's great. You can use it as a tool, but it should not be the primary way you write. Another issue is, as you just alluded to, when a student shows up in your classroom door, they are not an empty vessel ready to learn.
Right.
They have all these other issues going on, and you don't necessarily know that as a university instructor.
Right.
You have to kind of give them a little grace and say, all right, what's going on with you? And as you know, most students, when they're struggling for whatever reasons, may not be willing to open up to you.
Right.
And so the elementary schools, the high schools have become more and more a part of delivering social services, making sure students have social emotional health, that they have mental health, that they're physically well. And that, again, is different than it was. And that's something that the schools have had to adapt to over time. But it's necessary. You can't teach a student who's hungry. You can't teach a student who's in crisis mentally. Yeah. And having those resources is critical for getting our communities healthy enough to learn.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big shock for me. I used to teach at Rock Valley College in Rockford, Illinois, a community that has much more problems than this community. I mean, this community has its challenges and everything, but like I started working with a charity up there that was raising money to buy students socks because the students in the local school district didn't have socks. And you're like, if you don't have, like, this is like bare bones necessities stuff here, right? We don't have socks. How can we go to school and learn algebra, you know?
Right. And it's not just the students, it's the families, right? Because if I'm a parent and I'm struggling to get my kids socks, when do I have time to help them with homework? When do I have time to encourage them to read or to, do other activities that are educational? I probably don't. And so schools need to offer those opportunities to students.
Yeah, it's very important, and you're good to be on the board and give of your time to do that. I really appreciate that.
I am blessed in that I have I teach, but I do have some free time, and I do research, and I do have some free time now. When it's a moment like this where we're ready to install a detector in Mexico, and I know I'm going to have to spend several months this summer in Mexico. Time has been challenging, as we said. Trying to set up this interview was challenging.
Yeah, but it happens. So you were nominated and been chosen as a 2024 Harper College Distinguished Alumni. What was that like for you?
That was, again, starting where I started from is not something that 18-year-old me would have ever anticipated. Right. It is an honor. It is humbling to just think that the student I was and who I was coming into Harper, to have had the experiences I've had here and had all the opportunities going forward, and having instructors who, worked to teach me, even though I may not have been the best receiver of that education, right? As we said, that, and then getting to where I am now, you can see all the things that had to help me along my way.
Right.
And that's what I want for students in my university, and that's what I want for students in the high schools around here, and that's what I want for students in the elementary schools, is to say, okay, there's adversity for everybody. Everybody's got their own challenges. How do we get you going on whatever path you're headed for? Right. And I don't think it's like destiny or anything, but it's all these opportunities add up to great chances, and getting those great chances, and being honored as a distinguished alumni. I mean, yeah, I guess, right? I don't.
Am I distinguished enough?
Yeah, it's one of those things where the title feels awkward to me, but I think that's because I'm more of a hands-on guy. I'd rather go be in a lab and be building something. But
it's pretty cool to be recognized by the school.
It is amazing. I got a nice award, and I got lots of interesting people to talk to at my award ceremony.
Yeah,
it was great.
I've interviewed so many of the distinguished alumni, and almost all of them have the same story. Was not a good student, came to Harper, figured out what I wanted to do, went on, became very successful, giving back to their communities, and then wound up, being a Harper Distinguished Alumni. There's a very similar pattern almost all those stories there.
And again, it's like that, like I was saying with the National Lab, I may not be doing the work that you're doing, but I can see how awesome it is.
Right.
That's how I felt when I was talking to my fellow distinguished alumni is, wow, you're doing this and you're doing that. And
but they're thinking the same thing about you. So yeah, trust me. Yeah. So one last question I ask everybody: what advice do you have for current Harper students?
What advice do I have for current Harper students? That is a good question.
That's why I ask it every time.
Yes. So it's hard to get around. Do I talk about what advice would work for me, or do I try and pitch it to a student who maybe? I would say take the chances and opportunities that are given, and realize now's the time to explore and maybe change paths if you don't find something that specifically works for you. So, I don't know, go to the speech team thing and attend a few meetings. And if you suddenly realize, oh, wait, this is taking a lot more time, or I'm not enjoying this, go try chess club, right? Like, go do other things, because when you get into that path and career, you don't always have those opportunities, but you may find things that you love. And even if they're not career, not everything has to be career driven. It can be just interests that you're going to find throughout your life.
Yeah, and will carry you through. I won't identify the sport because I don't want to out the student. Not that the student's actually going to listen to this podcast, but I had a student last week. I asked them, are you doing your sport this semester? And they said, well, I really have to work and pay bills, and so I'm not really sure that I want to commit to being on the team because I don't want to let the team down if for some reason I can't. And I just looked at them and I said, you can work and pay bills your entire life. You have this one opportunity to do this here right now. And that student looked at me and said, I know my mom said that they would pay my car insurance if I wanted to be on the team. So maybe I should be on the team. I'm like, yes, be on the team.
Take those opportunities.
When are you going to get to do this again?
Oftentimes students are like, maybe I'm not good enough. Okay, maybe you aren't.
Maybe you aren't.
But maybe you are, and you just didn't realize it. So give yourself a shot. There's a lot of that sort of imposter syndrome that students suffer from of, do I really belong here? Is this give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
You'll find more often than not that you wind up in places that you didn't anticipate, but you do belong.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we do here. The radio station is not training people to be on-air personalities. We're training people to use their creativity and their voice and to learn how to manage that and to do something with it. It's not our intention for students to go on to be radio DJs. Some of them will, but that's not necessarily what's going on. And us being very open to that has attracted students from all over campus, from all different majors. We have science majors and arts majors and music majors and everybody in here. And so it's just, you got to go after those different opportunities to figure out what it is makes sense to you,
Yeah, and given those opportunities to work with people outside of your field is often real interesting, because you get opportunities at the university. There's only a couple of us, two physicists, and the rest of them are, a bunch of different things. And you get opportunities to work with fashion faculty or humanities faculty and foreign language faculty, and everybody brings their own skill set, and they make you better.
That's right.
Because you learn a little bit about the way they approach things, and having those multiple views on a problem often moves things forward in a great way and gives you a better result.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to come. I know that you're very busy. I appreciate you coming and being on the show today, and look forward to seeing the results of your project. I'm like, when I read about that, I got really excited. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens.
It's going to be an exciting but busy year.
Yeah, but it'll be good for you.
It'll be great.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the results of that. That's awesome. Dr. Joseph Sagerer is a Harper College graduate and distinguished alumni working to unlock some of the mysteries of our world. If you're enjoying Harper Talks, please subscribe, and while you're at it, rate and review us so that others might find us. Harper Talks is a co-production of Harper College Alumni Relations and Harper Radio. Our show is produced by Shannon Hines, who's amazing. This episode was edited by Kobe Pozo. Our online content producer is Vicky D. Our theme music was created by Aiden Cashman. I'm Brian Shelton. Thanks for listening.